It was good. You know, we did a lot of different things. So we got one-on-ones in that we normally don't do, 7-on-7 in a lot of different team situations because, you know, sometimes if you scrimmage, and I think that's why we changed, sometimes when you scrimmage, you may not throw the ball enough, and then all of a sudden the DBs don't get enough work. So, you know, we took a 10-minute period of one-on-ones where it was just the defensive back, the wide receiver, and two officials watching them so that we could get it on tape. And when we did get a couple penalties called, they could explain to our guys why they called it, what they saw, and what they were looking for. Same thing happened we did a one-on-one and two-on-two, O-line, D-line with officials there. And the officials said it was good for them just to concentrate on one thing and be able to understand when they're making calls and explain to our guys. The biggest thing for us when we get officials is this is what they're looking for, this is what they're going to call, and we got to go by their rules. So it was good work for us today.
Did anybody stand out today from Team U1?
Until we see the tape, you know, I think the effort again was good, but there was nobody that I was like, wow, that kid was the player of the day. But there's, you know, there was some. It was a lot cleaner and crisper than normally than I thought. There weren't a lot of penalties, which was good. I think there was only one or two picks, I think, or one pick. I think Brian Jackson had a pick, and then we did not have any fumbles, which was a big step for us in terms of ball security. So.
A couple of rule changes this year. Was that something they addressed or that came up at all?
It was interesting. We had the 10-second runoff rule a couple times, which I didn't know there was math involved in this route, but it was just interesting on how that worked because you use a timeout depending on your situation and just how that whole thing is explained. That I understand the reason for the rule, you know, kind of what happened in the Tennessee-North Carolina game last year, but it's going to be, you know, some decisions got to be made there in the heat of battle, and it's always good if you can get it practiced, you know, in a practice situation. So that situation came up. We did not have any cut block penalties called, so we don't have anything like that on tape to see. So hopefully we'll go the next time we get a chance to work with officials sometimes.
Nobody high stepping into the end zone to get a touchdown.
No. I hope that never happens.
Is that something?
Because I will be high stepping myself after them.
Is that something you feel the need to address particularly? Or do you feel like
we have all the time, and we'll continue. And I understand the rule, and you know, there's a lot that goes into. You score a touchdown. There's 10 other guys that did a great job, and you should go celebrate with your teammates. It's not all about you. I agree with the rule, but I know there's going to be some team that's going to have to pay a dear penalty this season for it, and we'll explain it and continue to educate our kids about it. Hope that it's not going to be us that's going to have to be the national poster child for what's right and what's wrong. But we did not have any today, and we'll continue to address it with those guys.
You plan on having officials here often for the rest of next week?
We'll have them again next week, you know, and then we get going. So we want to get them at least twice during camp. So.
You're going to be starting somebody probably inexperienced at the one corner spot. Does anybody sort of emerge there?
Again, I know you guys think I'm a broken record. We haven't had a conversation yet about that. It's just about getting those guys reps. So there's a lot of guys that are doing some good things, and then other days they kind of, you're like, geez, I wish it would be a little bit better. But, you know, it's going to be somebody new, and I don't know who it's going to be. It's Mitchell and Hill and Grady, and there's a few guys in the mix right now, and they're battling it out every day. The biggest thing for me, us, is a consistency. So it's not a one-day thing where all of a sudden it's going to be, you know, he had a good practice, so he's the guy. It's, you know, how have they been over the course of camp? So.
Do you know the competition date coming up this week?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow will be competition.
Afternoon?
Yep. Everything in the afternoon. Tomorrow's a double, so we'll do the same thing. We'll have the morning practice, teaching practice, you know, get a lot of things done, and then come back in the afternoon and get a competition day, which I think will be good to bounce back from today and then to follow right back up with the competition day. So.
How much does having officials help you and your coaching staff evaluate the play?
It's great. You know, because it's you get to play a little bit more of the game tempo and how are they spotting the ball. And obviously we spot the ball a little bit faster in practice because of the tempo we're trying to force. But we got to learn to play at their pace and live with their calls too. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of calls that maybe some of our coaches didn't agree with, but that's what it's going to be like in a game. So we got some real good special teams working. We got punt in today, punt return, kickoff return in today, and a lot of field goals. So we got all 6 phases of our special teams involved, along with a lot of different situations, end of the half, end of the game, red zone work, coming out work. So it was a good day with the officials.
Who are you guys looking at to replace in Kenny Rose's spot?
They're doing good. You know, Brandon Hanna's playing out there, Deion Jordan's playing out there, Jennings Stewart's playing out there, and it's the same guys. And Brandon and Deion have played a ton of football for us, so it's not replacing one guy's spot because of the way we rotate in our D-line. So those guys have played a ton of snaps out there. Really, as I've said all along with our D-line, it's, you know, trying to find number 7, 8, and 9 to go into that rotation. But the first 6 guys, you know, with Deion and Brandon being in that first 6, have played a lot of football for us. So.
Anybody you can imagine playing on all four special teams, like some guys have done that, Marvin?
Maybe, some of the guys that aren't a starter, if you start what we try to do, the Pasecos and the Josh, we certainly have some kids who could do it, but I think you're going to wear them down by playing them on four special teams. So, Brian Jackson is a kid like that could kind of take into Marvin's role. But again, we're still working on where we are special teams wise in terms of guys getting fit in there. But there will be a couple of those, if you're a backup receiver or you're a backup DB or you're a backup linebacker, that's really how you're going to make your niche on this team.
Maybe a Derek Malone.
Derek Malone is another good example of a kid that probably, in our opinion, should be. If you're not the starter, then your goal is to be able to start on all four special teams. Why do we have a band out here? Does anybody know? I see guitar instruments. I saw a drum.
We thought maybe you were the lead singer.
No.
You didn't arrange that? Concert for us?
No.
Do you feel like things are on schedule for you, where you want to be as far as camp's gone?
I don't think of it as much on schedule, but I see us improving, and that's what we want to do. We're going to be young, and there's nothing we can really do about being young, except getting those kids as much experience as we can in practice, and I think our kids are doing that. So, and really, we haven't had a bad practice. There hasn't been a day where, I've had to get, kind of miffed and say, hey, we got to pick it up. I think our guys are doing that and playing with really good effort. We're going to make mistakes, but that's part of the game. But as long as we're making mistakes at full speed, we can live with that.
Have you ordered any scholarships this fall?
Nope. Haven't done anything like that yet.
Plan on?
We wait till the end of camp and see where we are with it. So.